Hi, today we are going to talk about monolithic and microservices architecture. And let's understand what are the difference between these two, how the microservices architecture evolved, what are the problems with monolithic services architecture, and how it is started, what are the problems we were having, how it was benefiting earlier, but now what is the need of microservices architecture. So all these things we will go in detail. Let's start with an example of web store kind of Flipkart where we have three modules: order, payments, and shipping. You can have multiple, but this is just for example. And then we have a nice UI like Flipkart or Amazon where user comes, check out and order some items, and then he go into the order modules or he go for the payments and then it goes for shipping. And then we are maintaining one database. So if we have the monolithic architecture, which used to be even for Flipkart and Amazon in beginning when they started developing this project, what they were having a big bundle or big software which is packaged into these three different or four different modules. All these were clubbed together and they were deploying in some servers or virtual machines. That was their original architecture. But problem with this kind of architecture is even for the smallest change, you have to redeploy all of these modules, and it's not easy to change. If something we need to change the order, it can affect the payments and shipping also because they are tightly coupled. We were having the common configuration. Also, the database side also, we were having one database where we are having maintaining either different tables or different schema to maintain this whole system. So, so seeing all these problems, let's say today everything is going on the cloud, not in the VM. And in the cloud, we need very lightweight, very easy to manage because the expense is also high, and we need to have our application such a way that it can easily be faster deployed. And this whole monolithic architecture was fitting mostly towards waterfall model because there every all the requirements were clear, and in the end we used to develop the system. But now slowly from last couple of years, the whole structure of developing the software or developing the system is changed. And now what happens, everything is agile, means each iteration you are developing something, you are demoing something, and you are deploying something. And because of these evolution, and everything is around one particular business problem, not the IT or systematic or system related. But now we want to design all these things into small chunks so that it won't affect each other. It won't let's say if there is some problem in order, I want to change only the order. I don't want to affect anything into the payment and shipping. That will save my lot of time because I don't need to rerun my whole integration test and unit test cases. I don't need to worry what will break in the order because that scope we want to manage separately. So this whole concept came as a microservices. We will talk someday about the service oriented architecture also, but let's talk about now monolithic to microservices. So now if same service we want to divide into microservices architecture, now what will happen? The order, shipping, and payment, they will not be bundled into this box, but what will happen? They will have their own bundle or own module, you can say, in the previous. So, but in the new language, we say services. So these are different microservices. We are dividing those services into small services. And why we are saying microservices, how we design microservices, that is the big topic which we are going to cover in other video. But now let's understand this order, service, and shipping, order, shipping, order, payment, and all of these modules got divided into different services based on their business nature, based on their domain. And then we have separate database. Instead of having one big database, we have separate database for each of these services. So now what will happen? Let's say I want to change something in order. I need to worry only these components. They are not affecting anything in this flow, payment or shipping. So that will save my lot of time. And also I can easily deploy this thing because it will be very small. I can easily build. I can easily find the problems also in this because it's very easy. Now the problem got smaller. So as we say, when you have the bigger problem, divide into the problem. The same thing we are doing in this architecture. This architecture is also about solving the problem in smaller chunks instead of big problems, right? So now you see the UI is a different module, order is a different service, UI also different service, not the module in this term. And then we have the gateway, another concept which we'll talk in different section. You can have the different mobile app like Android or iOS, and all these things can be managed independently. That's what we are doing today's world, and this is mostly cloud native application, and they can be deployed in any cloud. Today, let's say you are deploying in AWS, and tomorrow you want Azure or some other cloud foundry or OpenShift. Any platform you can easily build, because now we are building the services the cloud native in the nature, and they're mostly agile in nature. Like let's say if you have one feature to be deployed with order service in this particular sprint, what you can do in the end of the sprint, you can easily independently able to deploy that. So that's the whole perspective about the microservices. And now let's talk about the theoretical, or you can say the where to use, how to use all of that. So I just created one nice mind map about those things, so you can easily capture those images into your mind instead of like going too much theory. I thought like let's go point by point and understand this whole concept in this mind map. So you see the left hand side I have microservices, right hand side I have monolithic. And then when we talk about monolithic in today's world, still if you want to use the monolithic, you can use monolithic if you are having very small application. If you want to build very quick a POC type of application, you can definitely use still monolithic. Or like you have very small team and you don't have the experience about the microservices, probably that time also you can use the monolithic. There is no big problem as long as you are able to manage the software easily. The problem starts when it becomes very hard to manage because your code becomes so big, and now it's like one change can break so many things. So that time we need to think about and go to the microservices design, spend there some time, spend some resources there, and then move your software, legacy software which is big in the nature, into the microservices design. These are the high level design in the perspective of if your application is small, then it's very easy to develop, it's very easy to test, it's very easy to development, and very easy to deploy. So I think this is repeated, so no worries. Okay, when to use we already saw if it is a small application. Now what happened? Why we are talking about the problem of monolithics if we have the advantage and we know when to use? Problem happened like over the time, the old system we see today, which is legacy system, they became so huge. There are like 50 modules or 10 modules, and they each module is so big. And let's say new developer joins our team, he don't have any idea, he makes some small change, it can break 10 different other modules, or he don't know how to deploy all of these things. So it is very difficult for those type of environment if your software becomes so big. So it's very and what happens in the monolithic, you have one single code base, one repository where you have to do everything. It's very hard to manage. The build time also is very high, and you want to build or change some feature, you need to do n number of testing all the modules, all the scenario, and you require a big dedicated testing team. And it brings a lot of cost to the company, a lot of time in the repeating task. So you can't go the full automation also on those kind of software. Now, even for a small change, you have to have the full testing life cycle. You need to see the lot of impact even with just a small change. It's very difficult to scale. Let's say it's Diwali sale and you want to scale one order service, but in the monolithic you don't have that option. But in today's world, you see, if you want to scale only the order, you want to add two machines or two nodes to the order, you can do that because we have divided those software into different services. But earlier, what used to happen, if you want two machine also you added, we cannot like say okay only on the add the resource to the order service, but it will be across system, and then you are spending the resources where you don't need. Those are also a big challenge. And then you cannot have multiple technology. Let's say Node.js is serving one of our purpose for one kind of problem, and Java is one. Then Python. Let's say we have some analytics in our some nice reporting in our modules, but everything we are using, let's say Java or .NET. So we have to continue in those type of framework because you cannot mix and match with Python or Node.js or some other framework machine learning because it is impacting that you need to resolve a lot of dependency and then it becomes very heavy. So those sort of changes, it's very hard to do when you have the monolithic type of architecture. But now let's talk about microservices. Why it became so famous? Why everybody is talking about microservices? So the biggest advantage of microservices is services focus only one business domain. So when we are talking about payments or when we are talking about order, we are only having the logic around that. Then it's a small independent service which have its own life cycle from database to deployment, everything, even the configuration, everything its own life cycle. You can easily fix the problem if there is some problem because your scope is very limited into that particular service. You have independent deployment because it's a full life cycle you can manage. In each service can be developed and deployed in different technology. So let's say one service we are having Java, other could be .NET or Node.js or something else, and even the React or Angular because UI we are developing React Angular, and backend we are let's say Java and Node.js, and one is in Python. You can have all these combination for different services. So that is only possible in microservices in today's world. Then the team also can be independent. They become SME of that particular module or services because they are fully focused on that, and then they can go across the team also because they need to only know this much for this service, and then they can know other teams like taking other service and know about that. So that type of thing is very flexible here. It's very easy to scale as we were talking, like let's say Diwali sale, and we want to scale only the order service. So you can easily go on the cloud and wherever you are deploying and increase that resources. That is also possible. Each service have its own database. So even one database is down, it is not affecting anything. So your order service is, let's say, your payment is down, but still you can order it. Still you can do other things. You can check out the product and all. While making the payment, you can say, okay, it will take some time. So it is like the user will feel the application is running always, and you can have your, I mean, services always available to the user. So those type of things you can easily achieve with microservices. When to use microservices? Mostly when you have the greenfield project, when you are starting the new project in today's world, all should go into the microservices architecture. When you want to divide your application into the domains, then also you should talk. When your system becomes so huge and you are not able to manage and you have the resources and time, then try to plan and move out from this monolithic architecture to the microservices. Spend some time there, then it will give you the long-term benefit. If you want to be cloud ready and cloud native application, then you should talk about the microservices and deploy the application that way. If you want to manage your application easily and efficient way, then you should go with the microservices. And fastest growing development with agile practices, you should talk about microservices. So that's why we are talking about microservices. I have worked like mainframe system, Java or .NET and all. Everybody's moving towards microservices. Reason is like it's need of hour, and if you are not reaching and not going into the microservices, you will be not that efficient in this world, and you will not be able to adapt a lot of new technology. So that's the reason, and technology is the key for any business today to succeed and thrive in the coming future also, and the way the things are changing. The problem also, we will talk about the microservices. Everybody talks like a lot of good thing, but there are some problems. The one thing is like microservices is in distributed in nature. So that means like one service can be deployed here, another in different place. So you need to do a lot of network calls, and all the disadvantage which is having into the distributed technology all will come into the microservices. When you are calling different places or different server, you need to trace a lot of logs. You need to trace who is calling when. So you need to have proper correlation ID. You need to have proper logging setup. All the you need to have proper monitoring of the application. Otherwise, you will not able to measure the performance nicely. And then end-to-end testing also become because one service is running here, another is different place. And failure of one service, you need to find out the proper correlation ID and all. So those are the challenges. And also you can understand you will be having, instead of big bundle, you are having multiple components and services. So obviously the managing all of these things is another challenge. So keeping in those things in mind, today definitely a lot of nice framework to solve these problem, like Kibana, like App Dynamics, and so many other, right? But what I'm talking, there are challenges around those things, and you need to make sure that you have the nice thing and nice logging, all of these things around your services. And then also you need to change your culture and mindset about how to develop the software, because it's a big shift. And when your whole organization and whole project team is becoming agile in the nature, so make sure you are giving those trainings and required things when we are adapting those. So I think that's it for today's video, and I'll bring a more session to understand it better. Thank you for watching.